In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God to whom all praise is due, the Lord of the worlds, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, the long-awaited Savior and Deliverer of the black man and woman of America. And in the name of his true servant and last messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I am happy to greet you, my beloved brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace in the Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum. And to those of you who are not familiar with those words, they simply mean peace be unto you. To the distinguished members of the Houston community who are seated on the rostrum, and to you, my beloved brothers and sisters, to Brother Charles, to Brother Edward, and to all of the Muslim brothers and sisters who worked so hard, so diligently to produce just what you see. I'm deeply honored and grateful for the opportunity to be back in Houston again, to look at you and to feel from you that hunger, that was first seen when we emerged from the darkness of our mother's womb. And that hunger, rooted in a faith that was instinctive in you as a baby, that when you moved your lips, it was as though you knew something would be there shortly to answer your hunger, to calm your fear, and to comfort you in a strange world. It is that same faith that every innocent child comes into the world with. That faith, that hope, that no matter how dark the night will pass and the day will come. No matter how hard the oppression and how vicious the oppressor, that hope never is extinguished, that we will indeed overcome the oppressor and his oppression and move on to a brighter day. It is that faith and that hunger that was seen in that new life when it was moments old into a new world. It is that hunger and that faith that is present here tonight, upon which in this decade we shall win total liberation of the black man and woman of America. Brothers and sisters, this is a crucial decade that we have entered. Many of us who are here in 81 will be gone by 91, but freedom will have been won. Because in this audience and in the streets of America, there are committed brothers and sisters who are willing to pay the price that is necessary to bring about the liberation of our people totally and completely from the cruel hand of oppression. There will be no middle ground for you. There will be no sideline watching for you. You will be in the mainstream of this struggle. Your and my days of standing on the side, watching leadership make gains for us is all over. In this day and time, men, women, and children will be in the forefront of the struggle. You will be forced to do it by the circumstances that are coming upon America and the world. And regardless to how well you think the establishment loves you, for your skinning and your grinning, regardless to how well you think you get along because of your favored position, I want to let you know, and if you don't hear it tonight, they will let you know, that they are tired of looking in your black face, and they are tired of seeing you begging them for any advancement, and you can see a mood of recalcitrance, a stubborn, unyielding mood coming over the country, that they don't intend to give another inch. That's right. And when the womb can no longer expand to accommodate the growth of the fetus, it is time for freedom or death. Is that right? All right. When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed from us, a great leader, a great teacher, and a great guide, left us by God's permission to create a hunger. We seem to be filled with the world, and the token integration offered to us by our 400-year-old enemy, who wanted us to believe that all of a sudden he had become our friend. And we were so enamored and happy and pleased to be able to come to Stouffers, or to eat downtown in Houston, or to be accepted along with other white folks in their public places, that we were glad, some of us, to see that movement for self-independence that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad fueled move off the scene. Some of us were very happy that that happened. Others say an era came to a close. Now we must move on for progress, and progress is defined by making it in a country that is not making it anymore. With the assassination of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and the destruction of black leaders and black organizations, this created in the masses of black America a hunger. In the last 10 years, our young people have been robbed of the history of our own struggle for civil rights that took place just a few years ago. These young children know nothing about that struggle. White folks understand that if you take away the history of struggle, you take away the continuity of struggle. So today, the struggle has stopped. Among many, they have the false illusion that we have arrived. Now, if a man is so skillful that he robs you of the history of your recent struggle, what do you think he did of your ancient past struggles? Huh? If a man is so skillful to take your heroes from you while you know them, then twist their legacy and feed it to you on television in a distorted way while you walked with Dr. King. And now you want to march on Washington to beg the murderers of Dr. King to legalize a holiday for your black brother. You should be ashamed of yourself. Dr. King is your brother. Dr. King is my brother. If we agree among ourselves that he made a significant contribution to better all of our lives, then what do we need white folk for to make a holiday for our brother? If we determine that he is a hero to us, come on, Stevie. Come on, Coretta. Come on, Andy. Come on, Reverend. Then from every mountaintop, let us tell black America, stay home and let us honor our brother on that day. And before long, like you started white folks doing the twist, like you started white folks singing blues, like you started white folk playing jazz, you'll start white folks respecting you and your heroes because you respected them first. Huh? So now, there's a genuine hunger in black America. That's true. Black women hungry, not for food, hungry to see real manhood developed among black men. Black women of intelligence who do not want to desert us, suffer with us, hungry and hoping still. Is there a real black man around? Now I want to say to my beloved hungry sisters, blessed are ye that hunger, for ye most certainly shall be fed. Every black brother in here is a giant. He just needs the right fuel to feed him, to grow him into the giant that he is by nature. And this is something that white folk do not ever intend for black men to see. That is strong, male, positive examples. We will kill them. Talking about white folks. They say we will kill your black male leaders so that you will always be a knee-bending, back-scratching, head-bowing, pussy-footing, punkish-acting fool, so that your people have no kind of leadership. Pardon the language. These brothers have the capability. They're powerful men. Their power is displayed in many negative ways because they don't have proper direction for their magnificent and awesome gifts and talents. Sisters, we know your qualifications, but somehow in this decade, the hunger that exists in both the male and the female must be satisfied, that we may see that we must walk the way of free men and women together and build a society in which our children will have something that we wanted. We together can provide it for them, not brother knocking sister, not sister knocking brother, but one helping the other one up, because the work of helping black people up from slavery has not yet been done. Did you hear this, brothers and sisters? The work has not yet been done. We are still scarred by the effects of slavery. And the church, and the school, and every institution we have has not been sufficient to remove from us the effects of our sojourn in bondage to white America. Those scars keep us from organizing right now. Those scars keep us envious and jealous of one another while we should be building up one another. Those scars keep us looking at our color, looking at our hair and our features, looking at ourselves in the mirror as though we are some unwanted freak, because God created us in blackness. These scars must be removed. The scars of self-hatred, the scar of ignorance, the blight of poverty of the spirit has to be removed. The blight and the poverty of hope has to be removed. And black men and women must see that our future does not lie with the Reagan administration that is coming in or the Carter administration is going out. Our future does not lie, or our hope should not rest totally in the corrupt political machinery of America. But our future lies in each one of us doing his and her own part to solve the problem of our people. Government can't do it, but we can. What time is it? That's the subject that they've chosen for me tonight. The time and what must be done. The hunger in black people is to know just what in the world is going on. That's a hunger. That's why you're here tonight. You really want to know what's going on. I firmly believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad knows this hour better than any man on the face of the earth. And I am going to in this few moments that we're together, give you what he has said concerning the time and what must be done. And I ask you to reason with what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught. In the 103rd chapter of the Holy Quran, it is called Al-Asr, meaning the time. I would like to read it for you. It reads, "In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. By the time, surely man is in loss, except those who believe and do good, and exhort one another to truth, and exhort one another to patience." We are being asked by God to consider the time. For surely man is in loss if man does not consider what time it is. Why does the Quran give us time as a standard by which we should measure the propriety or impropriety of our conduct? If you're living in Chicago this time of the year, nobody has to tell you to wear warm underclothing. When the hawk begins to blow, it suggests to you the time. And then out of your abundance of intelligence, you act in accord with the time, or you are considered crazy. On television a few weeks ago in Cleveland, when the Cleveland Browns battled, I think it was the Oakland Raiders, it was 17 below zero with the wind chill factor. And these few white folks kept coming up on the TV screen. They were something odd. Now, what would be odd about a few white folks in a crowd of 100,000 white folks? The reason they made national TV and so frequently was because they were oblivious to the time and the dictates and requirements of the time. It was 17 degrees below zero and they were stripped to the waist. Therefore, they were out of step. And since this world focuses on that which is freakish or out of step or out of the norm, they gain national prominence. That's give a fool recognition. But there are some other fools that are foolish, not because by nature they are foolish, but they are foolish because they don't recognize the signs of the time. Are you all right? Jesus said to the people, when they asked him about the time, he said, "You discern by the redness of the sky that it's going to be a good day tomorrow. And you discern by the heaviness of the clouds that it is going to rain. You wicked and adulterous generation that seeketh after a sign, You can read the signs of the heavens. How come you can't read the signs of the time? And then Jesus went on to enumerate what signs we should be looking for to show us the time of the end of a world and its power. And Jesus said there would be wars and rumors of wars. Is that right? He said there would be nation rising against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There would be earthquakes in diverse places. There would be famine. There would be pestilence. Is that right? And the scripture says, but these are just the beginning of sorrows. Just the beginning. Jesus was enumerating signs that the wise should be watching for to give us a clue to the end of a world's time, so that we who saw the sign knew how much time, by reading the signs, we had to get ourselves in accord, not with the old world that is going out, but with a new world order that would be coming in. Then Jesus said, when you see these things, this is just the beginning of sorrows. He says, then brother is going to deliver up brother. This is very heavy. Brother, listen to this now, is going to deliver up brother. And you will be scourged in the synagogues and the temples, and they of a man's own household will be his worst enemies. Now, Jesus was saying that a sign of the end would be when in your own household you would be looking for an enemy from outside, and your enemy would come right out of the bed that you're sleeping in. Your enemy would come out of the very womb of yourself and out of the loins of a common father. Isn't that something? So the scripture says two will be laying in the bed. God is going to take one and leave one. Two will be grinding at the mill. He will take one and he will leave one, because the time would dictate a time of separation. Now, according to statistics, they say that most of the murders that are being committed by us on us. Is that right? That's right. Now, we know that white folks have their share. They're killing a lot of us. But do you know that our killing of one another is greater than their killing of us? I'm talking about that kind of killing, because they're killing us wholesale in other ways. But I'm talking about just that aggravated assault and that beating and that shooting. Members of the household buy a pistol and bring it home to protect the house against some intruder and end up using the pistol on one another. Is that true? That's right. Come on now. Most of the young brothers that are in prison right now on heavy time are guilty of some crime against their own brother or sister. When I say their own brother or sister, I mean black people. And some are guilty of crime right in the same household. Is that right? So much pressure as the world of white folks closed down, and we're not able to see what is actually going on. The pressure is so great, the stress is so great. We are here with high blood pressure, stress, stroke, and abusing our children who are unable to protect themselves against their protectors. You, the mother, you, the father, are supposed to be the protectors of your children. Just like the police are supposed to be the protectors of the community. And they end up being the peace breaker in the community. The hellraiser and the number one criminal in the community oftentimes is the police themselves. Sorry, Chief. But this is a fact of life that we live with. Now you, parent, are supposed to be the protector of your children. And now you are beating your children down near to death because of your frustration. Let's look at it. A husband is supposed to be the protector of his woman or wife. Now the husband is beating his wife to death. We see him dragging her up and down the thoroughfares of Houston. Isn't this true? Come on, sisters. He lives in your mouth like a dentist. Drilling all the time, and he ain't looking for gold. This is a shame, brothers. Beating up our women like this. That's criminal. That's really criminal. But look at our community. We have turned in on one another now. So the scripture is being fulfilled. But it's a sign of the end of a world order that produced this condition. What time is it and what must be done? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he was being questioned by the FBI in Washington for what he was teaching, the FBI told Elijah Muhammad, if you had come 20 years sooner, we would have shot you outright. He recognized that that was true. But what he also recognized, and they did too, he was on time. Now, dear brothers and sisters, you cannot discount the factor of time in the success equation. Will you agree with me? I don't care how much you want to see your wife's baby and she's expecting. You can't tell her in the 3rd month, come on girl, bring it out now, I want to see what it looks like. That means you're a fool. You must wait on what? Time. If your timing was improper in the act, conception couldn't take place. Is that right? Even if the seed was in the right place, it had to be in the right place at the right time in order for conception to take place. Now, what are we learning from nature? I don't care how right your cause is. The cause that you have for justice is right. But the timing of your demands and your actions and your programs have to be as right as your need for justice. And when the timing is right, things just start happening. Because when a thing is on time, it is aided by the natural elements that create time. And that's the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the forces of nature. I am here to suggest to you in the name of Allah and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that it is time for you to go free from white folks. And there is nothing in their power to keep you bound to them. And no matter how much you want to snuggle up close to white folks, it's time for you to leave their doorstep and build a nation for yourself. What time is it, black man? Now look. Martin Luther King died untimely. Would you agree? Martin Luther King, in my judgment, was a very sincere and committed brother. In my judgment also, Martin Luther King wanted something that was against time. What did he want? He had a dream. He dreamt that you could put little black boys and little white girls together. He dreamt, oh yes, he dreamt that we could walk in America with white folks under equality. And therefore he marched to produce a breakout in the hatred of white folks for black people. Martin Luther King's words were that our love is stronger than your hatred. So we will wear you down with our love. And non-violently he marched. There was something missing in Dr. King's knowledge. No, we're not speaking against brother, but we must analyze and appraise now in order to draw lessons from brother so that we can move intelligently in the 80s toward our freedom. Never be afraid. Never be afraid to critically appraise and analyze our leaders and teachers in their absence. I'm not talking about slander. I'm not talking about vilification. I'm not talking about just taking pot shots at people who lived their life and gave their life for us. But Martin Luther King's life was a very exemplary life. And that life has to be studied by all of us in order that we may extract the lessons. Okay? Martin Luther King marched in Montgomery. Is that right? And he integrated the bus system. Didn't he? I think he did. Integrating the buses made the white bus company rich. And there were black bus companies that went out of business. Is that true? Come on now. The moment you got integration, you went crazy. And then struggling black entrepreneurs lost the market that they had with their own people, and we became economically impotent and more dependent on white people than ever before. That is not freedom. Look now, I don't need no civil right to spend my money in no white folk restaurant. Hell no. I don't need no civil right to go to toilet with white people. I need the freedom to build a restaurant of my own, build a hotel of my own, build a bus company of my own. And when we have our own, God bless the child that got his own, cause mama may have and papa may have and white folks may have and Chinese may have. But God bless the black man that got his own. What time is it? Now look, the Quran says, by the time is a standard, but by that time, man is in loss. Why is man losing? Because he's not acting in accord with time. Listen, Jimmy Carter didn't act in accord with time. He's losing. If Reagan don't wake up, America will be lost. Because time is the standard by which we must measure our conduct and the propriety or impropriety of our actions. And by time, time, all of us are headed for ruin because our actions are foolish according to the standard of time. Let's move on. Martin Luther King, as long as brother was a plain civil rights leader, marching in Birmingham and marching in Selma and other cities across the South and in the North, white folks said he's a good fellow. Give him television time. He's safe. Safe. Jews came out and gave him money to support the cause. Bless the liberals. So many people joined the bandwagon. But when America got embroiled in Vietnam, and Martin Luther King looked up and saw the link between the international struggle and the local struggle, that the forces that we were fighting here are the same forces that were oppressing the people in Vietnam there. And when Martin Luther King used his eloquence and the fame that he had gotten through the tube, the magic of that tube, J. Edgar Hoover called him in. And in words said, look, boy, you're going too far. Now, we didn't mind you marching niggas up and down the highway, because we was whipping they behind night and day. It's all right. You give our boys lots of practice. They built up a lot of good muscles. You niggas didn't even resist. They made it real easy for them to kick your buns. But now, Martin, you getting into international affairs, and you ought to stay in the nigger valley here, the thing that we put you in. I'm making it somewhat obscene. But I want to show you the contempt that the United States government had for a brother that we revered. They didn't love him. J. Edgar Hoover threatened Martin Luther King that if he didn't stop this international speaking on the international question, that he would reveal to Coretta Scott King some personal data, since Hoover is not only the head of the FBI, but a very good vacuum cleaner, looking for all the dirt that it could suck up. J. Edgar Hoover was a man that had sucked up the filth of everyone in leadership, and that's how government, or the FBI, was looked upon as the very seat of government, because nobody messed with J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI. You understand that? The cat, excuse the expression, the man was a monster. And when he called Martin Luther King a notorious liar, say he's the worst liar in history. I mean, where were these big bad mouth lovers of King? They ain't said a mumbling word to J. Edgar, because he's the white folks. And if he called your leader a notorious liar, must be so. I mean, can you imagine the disrespect of every one of us, that he would call one of our leaders a notorious liar and get away with it? Never was sued for defamation of character. Nothing was brought against him. And that's the way it is with white folk. They do to us what they please. Anybody you say you respect, they say, I'll show you what I think of him. Blow him away. And you walk with him to the grave, sing a few songs, and after a few years, they'll have a little plaque around in a park for him, and business is right back to usual. But I want to say this to white folks in the city of Houston and all over America. I want to serve notice on you by the time surely you are in loss. And the same old small time stuff you put over yesterday, you do that today, and it will bring your government to its knees. This is no idle talk. No, brother. This is not any idle talk. There's a power on scene that white folks gonna have to reckon with. By the time, surely man is in loss. Now, you may not have known this, but in January of 1968, Martin Luther King, who was working in Chicago, had a meeting with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Did you know that? They sat together like brothers. I have a classic picture of Dr. King and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, both of them sitting on a couch. Dr. King in a very warm and humble position, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad likewise in a very warm and humble position, both of them seeming to recognize the greatness of one another. When that meeting took place, Coretta Scott King was there also. When they left out of that house, and it was made known that Martin Luther King had sat down with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, trouble was really mounting. Because Martin Luther King was the most brilliant orator that has ever come to birth among us. Martin Luther King was evolving. He was a theological giant, but he missed in the knowledge of the time. The white folk recognized that if Georgia-born Elijah and Georgia-born Martin ever hooked up,
that's right. Listen to it.
I mean, it wouldn't be we shall overcome. The moment those two got together, we had already overcome, and white folk knew it. Listen to this now. Listen. J. Edgar Hoover was busy looking for one among us whom he thought might be the Messiah. Did you hear that? You all know that, right? You have heard it, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
That J. Edgar Hoover wanted to prevent the rise of a Messiah from coming up among us who could unify factions of black people. They were looking for that Messiah. Oh, brothers and sisters, do you know how important that statement is? The whole world is awaiting the birth of the Messiah. Why should J. Edgar Hoover in the seat of government of Washington be scanning the horizon of black America looking for the Messiah?
That's right.
Because J. Edgar Hoover knew what you don't know.
That's right.
He knew you better than you know yourself. And J. Edgar Hoover knew the time. J. Edgar Hoover knew that it was time that that Messiah should come to birth. And they also knew that the Messiah was to come to birth from a virgin. I know what you're thinking, and I know what you've been taught. And oh, Reverend, now come on. We got to reason together on the exegesis of Scripture. You know that a virgin cannot produce a child. Now stop it. If your daughter came home to you 3 months pregnant and told you that as she was walking by the schoolyard one day, the Holy Ghost set upon her I'm not making any mockery. But I know you'd snatch that girl and beat her till she told you the truth. Now look here. Now wait a minute. If it happened 2,000 years ago, how come it can't happen to your beautiful daughter today? No, you misunderstand the scripture. You see, these wise scientists of scripture, they couched and put truth in such powerful symbolic way that you would have to be a scientist of language, scientist of history. You'd have to be a scientist of physics and chemistry and zoology and botany and genetics and meteorology and astronomy to really extract the depth of the wisdom of Scripture. God puts wisdom in that way, and scientists do, to protect the truth, so that only the wise whom it is for will get it at the proper time. There you go. Now, what does it mean, a virgin will conceive? See, if you look at a female who has never been introduced to a male on a sexual level, she's considered a virgin. Is that right? Okay. Now, when this virgin is introduced to the male and the life germ is introduced, then the virgin conceives and brings forth new life. When you say this is virgin territory, what do you mean? You mean it's a wilderness. It's untouched. It is, you know, like it was, and its natural state. It is raw and undeveloped. It is virgin. May I humbly suggest to you that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has said that the scripture symbolically is not talking about an actual woman, but is talking about a people that are undeveloped and growing like in a wilderness, wild, but have a great potential. And as a virgin is a girl that has never had sexual relations with a man, a virgin people is a people that have never had true intercourse with God. And when, listen good, don't need applause, it needs thinking. Because it's time that we understand what God had locked up in the scriptures for you until the proper time that you may rise up on time and do what time dictates. You have not known God in the 400 years that you have been in America. You have a feeling for God. You've had a hunger for God. You've had a yearning from God. But actual contact with God would produce a whole new life in you. But you are the same today as you were 400 years ago. How could you say you know God? And you're still James Johnson, Larry Smith, Lucinda Watkins. You mean you know God, the best knower, and he didn't acquaint you with the fact that that wasn't your name? Come on, come on, come on. You mean you met God and you still speak the same general language that you spoke in the days of ignorance? You still act the same ignorant way you acted in the days of ignorance? You don't love one another? God don't have to come to Chinese for Chinese to get along? God don't have to visit Mexicans to get Mexicans to agree? God don't have to visit Puerto Ricans to get them to see the common struggle? But you are the only people on earth who are oppressed on all sides and still can't see the need for one another. You see, if you had met God, the very presence of God among you would manifest his attributes. The Quran says in these words, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. The two words, beneficent, bene in Latin or Italian means good, and ficent means you're making or you're doing, you are creating on the basis of good. And that which is good is that which is right, and that which is right and good is that which is in accord with divine law and divine will. Beneficent, merciful, compassionate, with a root in divine love. It is love that causes us to do good. It is love that gives us compassion. But there is no compassion among us for us. And we are not doing good by ourselves and by our people. So how can you say we have met the beneficent, we have met the merciful, if the attributes of the beneficent and the merciful are not actively operating and manifesting in you? If God is love, then where is the love? If God is wisdom, then where is your wisdom? If God is power, why are you powerless, huh? If God is rich, why are you poor? If God is perfect and holy and righteous, why are we so corrupt? No, you've never had an intercourse with God. You have been lied to in the name of God. White folk, the arch enemy of God, would not bring you to any God other than themselves, so they have you worshiping them indirectly, thinking that you're worshiping God. Look at it, black man and woman. By the time, surely man is in loss. You got a few more minutes? The virgin shall conceive. The virgin shall conceive. What does that mean? Somebody is going to come among you and start you pregnating with truth and a new idea. And out of that pregnancy, that conception, is going to come a new kind of leadership. And out of that new leadership, you will see yourself giving birth to a messianic idea. And the Messiah is to come to birth from your loins. And that's why white people watch you night and day. They don't come among you because they love you. They sit in your church, Reverend, and you think that they came to get the ghosts. They came to make a ghost out of you. Keep you spooks. Sitting by the door, never doing nothing. Brother, they watch you. TV came here tonight. Channel 2, Channel 13. Can we get in? They sort of knew that there was a happening and they wanted to be in on the birth. The hell you in the operating room for? This is private business here. And the birth will not be televised. No. What do they want to come here for? What do you want to see? We didn't send for you. You want to see who's here with Farrakhan? My brothers and sisters. They wanted to see if I said something radical. Then they would focus in on the people sitting up on the roster. Then tomorrow morning, they would call them in. I understand that you were down at Stouffers last night. Well, I I'm not trying to tell you can't go where you want to go, but damn, Joe, you gotta watch the company you keep. I mean, people are gonna yank that contract. Are they gonna do? This is how they frighten us. No, we didn't send for you. Television didn't bring this crowd. You go on back where you came from. We don't want you to be on your tube. This is one black man, you will not have the luxury of saying that you made me. I'm God's man. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love to see us do things independent of them. And I love to see us take pride in our own accomplishments that we are able to do without them. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we lived for tens and hundreds of thousands and millions of years before the white man was ever a thought in the mind of his father. Don't you ever think you can't live without him, because you lived without him before he got here. He's just a new baby on this planet. And if he's not careful, he'll be hurrying away from here soon. And you're going to have to learn to live without him. All right, now I'm going to get to the time here. Did you notice that J. Edgar Hoover named Stokely Carmichael? He named Malcolm X. He named Martin Luther King. He named Elijah Muhammad as possible messiahs. He also named Martin Luther King. Is that right? Now, what then was he looking for? You thought that Herod was looking for the birth of the baby Jesus 2,000 years ago. Do you remember that story? And Herod sent out a decree to kill all boy babies. That ain't back there.
Come on, bring it up to
That's right here now. Herod is there in Washington. He's right there in Austin. Yes, he's here in Houston. And they're watching you and me to see when is the new idea, the birth of the idea of freedom, true liberation coming up among the people. And they listen to all your speakers. That's why they're coming to TV. And what is the crux of your message? What do you intend to do? Where are you going? How many are there of you? How many think like you? Then they go back down to the studio. Sure, they sent our Mexican or Puerto Rican brother, but he's not the editor. He takes it back. Then they take it in the room and say, well, we'll put this on the 6 o'clock news. We'll snip it here, snip it there. But the big part they watch. They say, oh, this nigga here, we gotta watch him. How many did you say was out? Who was out? Oh, that's a dangerous nigga. Did he say this? Oh, send this right away to Washington. I think we got it. And that's what they were doing to Stokely. And that's what they were doing to Malcolm. And that's what they were doing to Martin Luther King. And that's what they were doing to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And they were watching that horizon to see the development of the movement. See, a little baby was coming to birth, and the object was kill it before it ever gets grown. Malcolm was only 13 years old in the truth. Malcolm was of a criminal mind before he met the truth. He was a brilliant man, but he needed direction. You would have never known of Malcolm until he met the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that message that Muhammad gave to Malcolm turned him on. And from that time, Malcolm turned on a nation and a world. And if that man was able to do all of that and was only 13 years old in the truth, suppose Malcolm had grown to be 21. Suppose he had grown to be 30. Suppose he had grown to be 40 or 50 years old in the knowledge that he was displaying. And if he shook white America as a 13-year-old boy into the knowledge, don't you think the white man have sense? said, I'm not going to let this nigga get no older. Now, brothers and sisters, yes, they watched Malcolm and schemed diligently to find our weaknesses, exploit our weaknesses, split Malcolm from the messenger, create the confusion, and in the creation of that confusion, engineer Malcolm's assassination. Then step back as though they did nothing and say, it's the Muslims killing each other. Though there may have been, well, a Muslim or two involved, I'm as sure as I am that I'm standing here that one of their agents or two of their agents posing as Muslims were the trigger men, and they refused to bring those men to justice, and they allowed two innocent men to stay in prison for the murder of Malcolm, and they did not commit it. And this is known by the wise today. Geronimo Pratt is in prison right now for a crime that Geronimo had nothing to do with. But the enemy wanted Geronimo because he's a military genius, and they couldn't stand for Geronimo to be on the street, so they trumped up charges. But they had bugged the Panther headquarters in Oakland, and the FBI knows that Geronimo Pratt was in Oakland, California at the time that he was supposed to have committed a murder in Los Angeles. They know the truth, but they will not give him a new trial, and they will not let him out. Why? They have said to Geronimo, there are only two ways you get out of here: breaking out or going out feet first. That's how vicious and brutal this beast is when he sees that you have potential to ignite your people. Do you hear me, brothers and sisters?
Yes, sir.
When Martin Luther King showed that he was growing into a new idea, Martin Luther King had to be eliminated. Teach. And right now, there's a big mystery over how the police that was supposed to be guarding the Lorraine were pulled off duty. At the time that Martin Luther King was assassinated. They still feel that there's a conspiracy involved. And the fact-finding commission felt in the language that they use that it still was up in the air, a big question mark as to the government's involvement in Martin Luther King's assassination. They wanted him out of the way because they felt King possibly might ignite you. And when King got together with Muhammad, who knows the time, they said he got to go. But they were also working on Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. Yes. And when they saw in 1969, according to the Freedom of Information Act, in 1969, J. Edgar Hoover sent a memo to the Chicago office saying, and I'm quoting now, that when Elijah Muhammad dies, we want to be in a position through our agents in the movement to turn the movement around, yes, or to destroy it completely. Yes, now, in this document, J. Edgar Hoover outlines what he wanted to do with the Nation of Islam. He said, number one, we must delete the part of the philosophy that deals with hate. Meaning that part where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the white man is the devil. Take that out. They said they wanted to delete the part where the Nation of Islam was seeking an independent nation of their own. Take that out. and moved the group more toward quote-unquote Orthodox Islam with a focus on self-improvement. That was J. Edgar Hoover's memo to the FBI office in Chicago. He said if they couldn't affect the leadership, then what they were also to do was to monitor the weaknesses and the strength of the leaders of the Nation of Islam and see which ones of them were hungry to sit in Elijah Muhammad's seat. And then if they couldn't turn the movement around, promote enough factional disputes among them so as to break it up from within. That's the government's plan, and up to this time, it has been right on schedule, right on target.
Yes.
And if you notice, when the nation went down, Martin gone, Malcolm gone, Stokely out of the country, all of a sudden a death came over all of black America, and the movement toward black independence began to slow down to a crawl and then halted. You notice that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now we're at the time and we can close it down. What white folks didn't know, and they don't know everything. Contrary to what we believe, that's right. They don't know everything. Rather, what they didn't know was this. All of this was in the plan of God for your and my ultimate deliverance. How could it be? The destruction of our leaders, the destruction of the Nation of Islam, the destruction of all this. How could this be in the plan of God? Jesus said it like this: except a kernel of corn fall to the earth and die, it cannot bring up a new stalk. What was Jesus saying? I must die. I, meaning the Messiah, I must die. He said, but in my death, I'm going into the earth for 3 days. And it's so beautiful.
Yes, sir.
And by my suffering and by my death, you will be brought closer to life.
Yes, sir.
It's an agony, yes, but go through it with me. I don't want to go through it either. You saw me in the garden praying, it says, till sweat dropped off of my forehead like blood. Pass this cup away from me. And the scriptures and the scholars bear witness that Jesus' prayer was heard, that God would not take his life. It would appear as though he was dead, but in a few days life would come back. Oh, now look. Oh, look at the beauty of this. Look now. When Martin was killed, do you know that white folks in certain quarters rejoiced? They said, man, that nigga's gone. Do you know they didn't expect for black people to react like that? They knew had they killed Elijah Muhammad, we were organized in every major city in America, and you have to bear witness. Muslims were peaceful people, but everybody knew it was an unwritten rule. Don't mess with them people.
Really?
Because everybody knew that we get our man. Everybody knows that.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah, that's the truth. And we don't make no bones about it, brother. You are not going to be respected as anything if people can just walk over you and me, white or black, brother. People got to know when they're treading on dangerous ground, rattle for them and let them know, hey, man, this is dangerous. And then if they move on, strike them so that they know next time, ooh, I better not walk that way no more. Now listen, brother and sister, all praise is due to Allah. And the reason so many people mess over you and me is because we permit it. They won't permit us to do it to them, and we got to wake up and stop permitting people to do to us whatever they please to do. When they have to pay a price for it, they think about it. Now, when they murdered Martin Luther King, over 30 cities were set on fire. And I mean, white folks didn't expect that, because King didn't have an organized, disciplined cadre of people. So they said, well, who gave the command? They were behind the door saying, is there an army out there? I mean, who gave the order? I mean, did these niggas burn down in 30 cities at the same time, doing the same thing? There had to be an army. Somebody had to give the command. Who gave the command? And then White, he's a scientist. He go in the back and he starts analyzing. He says, now wait a minute. I see how this happened. Every time we beat one of them niggas, we put it on TV. And we was fire hosing them and setting them to the dogs. That was all over the TV. So it was producing a national consciousness. And a national consciousness produces a national feeling. And when our brother was hurt, there was a national spontaneous reaction without nobody giving orders. Black folk took to the street and started burning. And that's when the McCarran Act and the King Alfred plan came out, man. Whitey said, hey, this is not going to happen again. If anything like this happened, they said they would swoop down on all black leaders. And they said NAACP, Urban League, I mean every so-called moderate group, you will be in jail within 24 hours, according to what the government has said. Not only will you be in jail, every one of you police officers, black ones, they will swoop down on you, strip you of your weapons. All you blacks in the army, they can't trust you. You will be confined to your barracks with no weapons. I mean, this is spelled out by the government. I wish I had this document here to show you. Teacher. These beasts are ready now. They are turning everything they can into some makeshift concentration camp. They're getting ready for what they see is inevitable. All right, but white folks, you ain't quite ready. By the time, surely man is in loss. Now we conclude. The death of Martin Luther King caused white folks to see we must not allow TV to give black people national consciousness. Have you noticed that all black programming in the 70s began to be removed? Come on now. You know, we used to have Black Journal. Now it's Tony's Journal. And there is a difference, you know. We used to have Soul. We used to have Black on Black, Black Star, this, that, and the other. Every major city had some black TV programming. Have you noticed all of that's gone now? They took Tony Brown, who was one of the greatest, in my judgment, forerunners to black brilliance in the TV media. And they gave Tony Brown a show where he became the black Johnny Carson. When he had Black Journal, he was unique, different, and a winner. Now they put him in a role where he copies after some white show, which is subtly saying to black people, y'all got to come under us. He keeps using your heroes to reinforce that. Now after he destroyed your leaders, look at it, destroyed the organizations, took your TV programs off, then he programmed what he wanted you to have. Good times. All in the family, Jeffersons. They took Tony Brown, who was one of the greatest, in my judgment, forerunners to black brilliance in the TV media. And they gave Tony Brown a show where he became the black Johnny Carson. When he had Black Journal, he was unique, different, and a winner. Now they put him in a role where he copies after some white show, which is subtly saying to black people, y'all got to come under us. He keeps using your heroes to reinforce that. Now after he destroyed your leaders, look at it, destroyed the organizations, took your TV programs off, then he programmed what he wanted you to have. Good times. All in the family Jeffersons. Different strokes. Rerun. Warmed over. Said, we're rerunning it. It was so good, we're going to rerun it again. See, he knew that you were asleep, he's going to run it right by you. Whitey's giving you messages. Now here you are in Houston.
Yeah, you see, we're so fortunate to live in such a fine city. One of the finest in the Southland.
You need a spanking. Here's a black boy with a white father telling us on TV that a white man can be a better father to a black boy than any black father. The subtle messages are there, and they destroyed our consciousness, but it was all for good, because as Jesus said, even though I don't want to come, even though we didn't want the agony of seeing our organizations destroyed, our leaders murdered, we needed that experience so that we could grow into the knowledge of the viciousness of our enemy. And so that when we came up the next time, we would come up wiser, stronger, greater in number, at the proper time to forge ahead for our liberation. What time is it? Now, look at you. The great leaders are all gone. I don't consider myself a great leader. I consider myself a follower of a great leader. That's right. But since the great leader is absent, and I am now articulating his message, people who are hungry all over America are coming out by the thousands because they want to know, they want to hear. And what is it you want to hear? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad laid down the time and the criterion to judge the impropriety of your actions. He said, and I quote, "We are living at the end of the white racist time to rule the darker people of the world." Listen to us. The day of white mastery over dark people has come to an end. And because it has come to an end, you see the rise of the yellow man. Japan went to war with America before because Japan was reaching out for economic strength, and America was trying to cut off Japan's economic growth, which forced Japan to attack Pearl Harbor in December 1941. Here we are right back again. After the war is over, America builds up Japan. Now Japan is the leading automotive producer in the world, has taken it from America. She's the leader in technology and advancement in electronics. She's taken it from America. She has taken American products, studied them, done it better and done it cheaper, while the profit-motivated, greedy-minded, gluttonous, piggish American wanting to suck and eat and grovel and get more and more didn't see the yellow brother over there getting it all together and came right in on their market. Now you see the Americans saying that they're going to cut out allowing Japanese cars to be bought in America for a period of 5 years to let the motor industry here catch on. It's serious business here now. Steel mills closing. Don't you know steel is the blood of America, and the automotive industry is the #1 industry that moves America. So when the automobile industry begin to fall, they start talking about have faith in America, buy American products. Now they're starting to bring back on TV old Japanese movies. They want to reinforce hatred of Japanese to make you patriotic. So instead of buying you a Toyota, you buy you a Ford product, or a Chevrolet, or maybe a K car from Chrysler. For God's sakes, bail us out. Look. It's time to go. But look, brothers and sisters, it's serious. And as they go down, squeezing Japan, for every action there's an equal and opposite what? Then there's going to be a reaction on the other side. Look at Nigeria. Nigeria is the second largest oil producer to America. Is that right? Next to Saudi Arabia. Now Africa has become important. Everything that America needs to keep on going, Mother Africa has it. So now she wants to develop a better policy toward Africa. Too late, baby. How you going to tell us you want to develop a better policy toward black Africa, and their kith and their kin are here in America for 400 years, your most faithful servant in peacetime and your most faithful soldier in wartime, and you have a diabolical and deadly policy against black people in America who are from Africa. Hold it. Why are you in trouble? It's time. Now the world clock says Whitey has to readjust to a new economic order. Whitey has to readjust to a new political reality. He is losing all over the world. But what time is it for you? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it was divinely prophesied that you would serve in America for 400 years. The scripture in the book of Genesis, in the 15th chapter, the 13th, 14th, and 15th verses, it reads, "Know of a surety, Abraham, that your seed will be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. And they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And after that time, I will come, and I will judge that nation which they shall serve. And afterwards shall they come out with great substance and go to their fathers in peace." Now, the Jew claims that's him. And when I say the Jew, I'm talking about the Caucasian who claims to be the Jew. And by claiming to be the Jew, he's claiming that he's the chosen of God. He's robbing you on every score. But look, mighty ones, how long have you been in America? You can't find nobody in history that's been a slave to another people 400 years but you and me. When did we come to America? I know what they said, 1619. But if you go to the Congressional Library and read the records, they say the first slaves were brought over here by a man named Sir John Hawkins on a ship named Jesus in the year 1555. There were 60 4 years of hidden history from 1555 to 1619 that turns you from a proud black man from Africa into a Negro, a colored boy, a shine, or a nigger in America. And in those 64 years, they robbed you of your name, robbed you of your language, stripped you of your culture, destroyed your traditional knowledge, took you from your parents, murdered your parents, and reared you in fear of the whip, the lash, and the white man to be hewers of wood and drawers of water for them. And now you have been a stranger in America for 400 years. And now your time to serve them is up. Now when a man has served his time and his time is up, then what he wants is release. He goes to the owner and says, hey, jail keeper, my time. Hey, I've been counting time, baby. It's up. And you didn't give me no time off for good behavior. And I've been good ever since I've been here. Now my time is up and I want out. Or when your week work is done and your time is up, you go to the man and say, give me my pay. Now on both scores, look at your actions. Your actions are saying to white people, my time is up. You are saying to them, I ain't taking it no more. I ain't going for it no more. But your timing is right, but your action is wrong. The action shouldn't be, let me in, let me salute your flag, let me fight in your wars. We see the end coming to you. No, we want to get out. What did Moses tell Pharaoh? Let my people stay. Let us in, Pharaoh. We want more action, Pharaoh. We want more of the pie. We want our share of the pie. No, Israel didn't talk like that. Moses didn't talk like that. Moses said, let us get the hell out of here. We see judgment on you, Pharaoh. And God put 10 plagues on Pharaoh that wouldn't quit. Now you look at the plagues that's hitting America. Look at the heat. Look at the snow. Look at the cold. Check out Mount Helens. Hey, and you got a mighty earthquake coming up soon. They have a flu bug going around. Folks dying that ain't never died before. Major cities, epidemic. Where are these bugs coming from? And there will be wars and rumors of war. Can't you see the wars breaking out? All over the world, Iran, Iraq, Hague is about to be confirmed. Hague says we must defend the Middle East. The Middle East is about to erupt. What is going to happen if they keep striking in Poland and Russia moves in? America's got to react. Germany is upset. They're talking about more weapons. America is headed into the Third World War. Armageddon is on, black man. It ain't to come. It's here now. Your day of deliverance has come, black man, but you got to recognize what you must do. That's right. First of all, you must recognize that the time has come for us to do something for self. You hear, brothers? Sisters? The time has come for you and me to stop sending our children to their schools, to allow them to continue to miseducate our children. Either we take the school over or we build schools of our own, or turn every church in Houston into a school, and we teach our children the values that will make them productive black people, not beggars of white people, but independent in thought and action. The time has come not for us to beg America for more money. We already extract from the American economy $120 billion a year. $120 billion makes us the 8th richest country on the earth. If we use that 120 billion wisely, we could build hospitals of our own. There's no need for us to be guinea pigs in white folks' hospitals, allowing them to experiment on our women and men and boys and girls. Set up your own hospital, black man and woman. We got hospital administrators. We got doctors and nurses. We can build hospitals of our own. All over the country, they're closing down black hospitals. With $120 billion, we can open up black hospitals. Why should Texas Southern University have to wait for money to come from other sources to keep Texas Southern moving? She's our school. She has served us. Let's take her over and make her serve us better by not making us good basketball players, good track stars, good football players. Hell no. Science of every kind, with medicine, with law. We've got to understand every aspect of political science and international law and international trade. We want to be a nation. 30 to 50 million of us cannot continue to be beggars at the gate of the rich man for the crumbs that fall from the rich man's table. Beloved brothers and sisters, the time is here for us to build our own institutions. You say that Whitey's world is ending? Yes, it is. And you and I don't have to be scientists to see he is in trouble. You agree? Now, if Reagan is smart, Reagan will recognize the time. And if Reagan is smart, Reagan will pick up on the theme of the first great Republican president. Who was that? Honest Abe. You know why they called him Honest Abe? Because Abraham Lincoln was the most honest and forthright president when it came to black and white relations that America has ever had before him, and has not been one honest like Abraham Lincoln since him. If you study Abraham Lincoln's writings, he said to you and me, I'm not in favor of black people holding elected office, being, mayors and whatnot. He said this openly and honestly. He said, look here, you suffer from being in our midst, and we suffer from your presence. That's a very honest statement. He said, as long as you are here, there's always going to be a position of superior and inferior. And I, as much as any other white man, desire the superior position to be assigned to the white race. He was the first president to hold a White House conference, and he asked for intellectual blacks to come in, and he said, look, we don't want to end up like Farrakhan, losing our country, losing our government because of the unwanted presence of slaves. He said, look, if we agree to let you go, I'm telling you, this is what Abraham Lincoln was saying. We will either allow you to return to Africa, and what you have gained here will be a blessing to that continent. He says, or you can go to Central America. See, they had so much power down there. They could send us there. He said, look, in words, we recognize we owe you a debt. But if you stay here, it's going to get hard on you and us. Why don't you leave and we will look after it? They're talking about a colony then. The black intellectual said this. Mr. Lincoln? I'm not quoting perfectly. This is a paraphrase. We abhor the thought of leaving you. We didn't leave anything in Africa. We want to stay here with you. See, he was talking to the one that Malcolm referred to as the house nigger. House niggers always want to stay in the house and mind the house. The field nigger just want to get the hell off the plantation. You understand? Oh, excuse the expression. Well, here now, John Kennedy comes up, 1960, is that right? Claiming to be Abraham Lincoln II. But Kennedy was a lying, deceiving president. That's right. We can say it now because the emotion is gone, but he was a wicked deceiver. And he did the very opposite. He offered you social integration. Not a way out, but a jive way in. You could sleep with his woman, go in his hotel, but nothing meaningful. Now, Ronnie Reagan. I'm closing now, brothers and sisters. Ronald Wilson Reagan. 6 letters in Ronald, 6 letters in Wilson, 6 letters in Reagan. 6, 6, 6. In the Bible, it says, "He is understanding. Him that have understanding, let him count the number of the beast. For it is the number of a man, 666. Here, 3 6s again. Y'all all right? Can you give me 5 more minutes? Just 5. That's all I want. 5 more. All praise is due to Allah. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Listen now. Ronald Wilson Reagan is exactly 120 years from Abraham Lincoln. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Come on with it. Yes.
To my Muslim brothers, I want you to study the chapter in the Quran called the elephant. The symbol of the Republican Party is what? In the Quran. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Oh man, let's wind this up and go home. Look here. In the Quran, it tells us about a man named Abraham, not Abraham, Abraham, who with elephants attacked Mecca. And his desire was to destroy Mecca, to destroy the Kaaba. This is about 750 years before Prophet Muhammad, 750 years before Abraham was born, I think. Yeah, I believe that's correct. Now look at the 750. You got a 7 and you have a 5, and that gives you 12. Very significant. You got 120 years from Abraham Lincoln to Ronald Reagan. There's the 12 again. Now 12 are the inches on the ruler. And there's also 12 major scientists. Inches on the ruler. I don't want to go too far into the significance of this, but just enough to let you know that a ruler allows you to draw a straight line. And any ruler that comes up among the people is sanctioned by the 12 major scientists. Therefore, in the scriptures, you get the story of a woman clothed in the sun, standing on the moon with 12 stars on her head. Sanctioned by the 12. 12 represent a ruler. A ruler is able to give you guidance in drawing a straight line. There is a straight line coming from Abraham Lincoln to Ronald Reagan. Listen now. But in that 12, there's also 1 and 2, which gives you 3, which also is a number that signifies a trial. This president is under a great trial. If he messes up, he will be destroyed, but his country goes down too. Abraham, 750 years. Here you got the 7 and the 5, there's a 12. That means there's a rule, a thumb, a guidance in that man, because that man wanted to destroy the holy city. And America right now is contemplating destroying a holy people that God has chosen as his own. I warn you, Ronald Reagan, in the name of Allah and Muhammad, I warn you, government of America, you are playing with fire to contemplate the thought of genocide with a people whom you have murdered all the day long, who have lived under the very valley of the shadow of death for over 400 years. Now you want to kill us totally and completely? As that man Abraham met a violent death. What happened? God allowed birds to take stones, and the birds threw stones on them. I mean, look, an army of birds attacked them. And then disease went in their ranks. What does that mean? Stones and birds tell you planes with bombs. Birds with stones also mean the upheaval of earthquakes that rain on you stones. As you got a sign of it in southern Italy, you will get a major earthquake in America this year. Stones heaped on cities, buried, twisted bodies. God must make America to know that he will kill you all for this people. We're going to fight one of these days to defend ourselves, but the fight is up to Allah. He has intervened, and he's well able to whip the white man's butt. The white man is nothing but a little baby to the God of your salvation today. In fact, he's a punk to the God of your salvation today. They're so hot with us. They have 10 minutes. They say we have a fire violation on our hands. So do you have a fire violation on your head? But I will get out. Because I may leave in a few minutes, but you're going to leave shortly too. Permanently. Now I'm going to conclude. Now look, this is a warning. The last point is, do you know how many years Noah preached? 120 years. How old was Noah when the flood came? 600 years. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the coming of the Son of Man. There's a straight line from Noah down to Muhammad today. There's a straight line from Abraham Lincoln down to Ronald Reagan. If Reagan is wise, he will convene another White House conference, but not with a bunch of handkerchief-head Negroes. And Ronald Reagan will seriously entertain the thought like Pharaoh did. Look, Israel, damn it, I'm catching hell from you, God. I think it's time to let you go. I promised your parents 40 acres and a mule. And now we're going to give you all some land, some tractors. We can't use that many mules. Modern equipment. And if America will look after us in a separate territory for 20 to 25 years, in that time we will be able to go for ourselves, and America will spare herself or delay the inevitable. And now you, black brother and sister, as I leave, remember in the days of Noah, the people were dancing, they were partying, they were boogieing when the end came. Do you see what you're doing? What you doing? Come on, baby, let's get on down. Oh, yeah, you just can't help yourself. You just can't wait for me to finish so you can go boogie the night away. Is that right? That's a shame. Get rid of that reefer. You didn't come to America high, and you ain't gonna get out stoned. You got to be sober as the judge. Brothers and sisters, let us get on time. It's time to get up and do something for ourselves. It's time for us to see each other as brothers and sisters and begin becoming a family with each other. Will you try it? It's time for us to start loving one another. You've got to try it because nobody else loves us. We might as well now try loving one another. Now I say to you as I leave you, brothers and sisters, don't leave just yet. We're going to have a prayer, and we want you to just file out, take your time. Ain't nothing going to happen. Just take your time and just go right on out. We thank the Stouffers for permitting us to hold this meeting here. And we thank them for allowing us this overflow. And if you treat us good, the God may spare you a little. You're really blessing yourself. And I have never known a man that's staring death in the face not to be intelligent. As much hell as you catch, and you should be thankful to God when you hear that the Muslim brothers are coming to your place, because God is coming in with us, and when we leave, he'll leave with us. So may Allah bless you. May Allah keep you, brothers and sisters. I thank you for the honor that you have shown me in coming out and listening to what we have to say. And there are little cards that you were given. Fill those cards out if you have them. Turn those cards in, and we'll be in touch with you if you want to learn more about the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Sign your name on the way out. On the way out, there's this album, Heed the Call, y'all. A white man's heaven, sure enough, is a black man's hell. If you like to get it, it's on sale on the way out. The paper is titled, The Worst Is Yet to Come. So true. Get a copy on the way out. And, brothers and sisters, the tape of tonight's lecture, if you would like to have it, if you would like to have it, you would. My son, the young fella that was sitting there, old fella, is reproducing it right now. So on your way out, if you're just a little patient, he will be glad to give you that tape. I mean, I said give it to you, you know what I mean. I would like to pay special I'd like to pay very special recognition to Brother Kamaluddin and Sister Margie from KTSU Radio, who have been playing. Is this brother? Stand, brother. Strong, courageous brother, please back them and let them know that we appreciate what they're doing by sending your cards and letters to KTSU, telling them to keep up the good work. Again, I'd like to recognize this brother right here, who is the first brother in the city to play the speech on Where Is Your Head? And I understand he lost his job at the radio station. But he's a great, powerful brother. Thank you. And just as you stood up for brother because you recognize his worth, brothers and sisters, when we stand up for one another, that's when people won't be able to do what they do and get away with it. Now, again, brothers and sisters, a quick announcement. There's a card here I wanted to recognize. I'll find that card, please. Here it is. I'd like to recognize Brother Curtis. Brother Curtis Bailey. Where's Brother Curtis? Raise your hand, Brother Curtis. This brother here and Transplant Incorporated, they are the group that put this whole thing together. And listen, brothers, they spent money out of their pocket to produce this night. Won't you help to make it such that they don't lose? They won't lose anyway, but help them to defray the cost. There'll be brothers and sisters on the way out with a receptacle. Please put something in it on your way out. And now, last but not least, this coming February 21st and 22nd, for the first time in 7 years, the Muslims are going to sponsor a Savior's Day convention in Chicago, to which all of you are invited. I promise you, it will be the most wonderful experience that you have had, because many people thought they would never see the nation return. And I want you to know that the nation of Islam, exactly as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught it, because I'm not smart enough to add anything to what he taught. Because if I added anything to it, I'd be taking away from it. That will be February 21st, 22nd, and you all, regardless of your persuasion, are welcome to attend. And that being it, would you mind my saying a prayer? Would you pray with us, please? Would you like to stand? Brothers and sisters, I'm going to pray this prayer partly in Arabic and in English. This prayer, part of it is called the Adhan in Arabic. It's a call to worship. And it was first given to the Muslims by a black man named Bilal. And when Prophet Muhammad heard the report of what this Ethiopian brother was doing, he added a few words to it, and it became the standard call to worship of the Muslim world. The Christians called to worship with a bell. The Jews called to worship with a ram horn. The Muslims called to worship with the human voice. And the sound is that in the last days, a people like Bilal will come up and call the whole world back to the worship of the true God. And that people who are going to make that call is standing in front of me and around me right now. That is you. So would you pray with us, please? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. God is the greatest. God is the greatest. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. God is the greatest. God is the greatest. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Hayya Allah Salat. Hayya Allah Salat. Come to prayer. Come to prayer. Hayya Allah Falah. Hayya Allah. Come to cultivation, come to success. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. God is the greatest. La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the day of judgment in which we now live. Thee do we serve, Thee do we beseech for help. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed favors, not of those upon whom Thine wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray after they have heard Thy teaching. Say he, Allah is one. Allah is he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we all depend. He begets not, nor is he begotten, and there is none like him. I bear witness that nothing deserves to be served or worshipped beside Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is Thy true servant and Thy last apostle. Ameen. Brothers and sisters, before you leave, may we please recognize again Kent Bailey, Kim Brantley, thank you, our sister who is in the legislature, is that correct? State Representative Sister Sophronia Thompson. And this, of course, you know, is Judge Green. Way in the back is our brother on the school board, Brother Springfield. Is that right? And next to brother is Brother Provost. You know brothers, right? These are some of the leading brothers and sisters in our community, and we are very honored that they honored us tonight with their presence. Next to him is our brother in the Afro-American Patrolman League, Brother Coons. Is that right? Como. Brother Anthony Como. And next to brother Reverend Ray Martin. Come on out here, big brother. Got to squeeze the brother Reverend. These spiritual men of God, if they grab a hold to the Word of God, I'm telling you, these are great and valuable men. May Allah bless you, Reverend. And Brother King. This is Brother King, Lester King. I remember the last time we met. Brother George Johnson. And Brother Charles Green. Bean. That's all right. We're going to fix up those names. Yes. Brother Vali Bastine. Let's give him a hand, please. And come over here. And brother, to many who needs no introduction, former minister of the Temple of Islam here under the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Raymond X. May Allah bless you all. Thank you for a wonderful evening. As I greet you in peace, go in peace, and if you have time, shake each other's hand on your way out and let the world know that we are brothers and sisters. Thank you again. Assalamu alaikum.
Brothers and sisters, can I